Yo. What's up, everybody? What's going on? What's going on? Welcome to the Work Show, where all we do is talk about work. I am your host, Trey Tuck. This is episode 33. This is episode 33. Uh, I'm glad to be here. Glad to be doing more of these podcasts. Glad to be just being able to talk and express how I feel about things, and sitting down and being able to essentially be a better podcaster. But we are not here to talk about podcasting. We're here to talk about the message of today, ladies and gentlemen, is knowing how to read a room. Plenty episodes over the internet the past week or so where people just don't know how to read a room, don't understand what a room looks like, don't even know how to read. So therefore, they could never be able to read a room. So this episode is dedicated to all those people that think they're doing something good, but in reality, you're really just like fucking things up, right? So before I get started, I guess we could just kind of talk about how my week has been. My week has been good. I've been straight. I've been chilling. I've been just maintaining and being able to. One second. I'm sorry. I just been maintaining being able to exist in my normal self. I've started watching March Madness. I guess that's the news of the week. March Madness officially started. Very hectic, super hectic games. Outside of that, I just did my normal routine. I had my program. Uh, my wife did a paint and sip. So that's it. My week was boring. Straight to it. Work. My I did have my one of my very close relatives, great uncle. We called him my grandfather. Passed away. Um, Mr. Doc Davis Jr. or Uncle Doc, and I got to see a lot of my cousins. And the one thing that we took away from that whole experience on that side of my family was just it's hard to only see each other when there's crisis or something bad's going on, and I'm a victim of that, right? Like, I show up when people need me, but necessarily don't always show up when they don't. Like, when you could just exist and chill, you can go hang out, this, that, and the third, just because life feels so busy sometimes that you forget that the moments that you spend with people are probably the most important ones, not the ones where they don't know that you're even spending time. So that was the takeaway of the week for me, was to spend time with people even when they don't need anything from you. And you know my wife had a paint and sip this past weekend, and my cousin was having a party, and we didn't get to make the party because the paint and sip took so long. But originally I accepted to go, and I didn't realize that I had to go to the paint and sip and help uh Ash out. So that kind of missing that kind of was like, man, that's another instance where, like, you didn't need me to be there, but being there would have been nice. So I'm gonna continue to do better with just realizing that in myself, and really going out of my way to make sure that I'm showing up for the people that showed up for me in small ways, because the big ways are great, but small ways kind of add up to the big ones. So that's my takeaway with just my whole week, is to show up when you're not needed and to show up when you're needed. So that way you can always be reliable. Granted, there's always things that happen where you're not able to, you're not necessarily able to always do whatever you want to do, or be there, because things happen. Like, for my example with my cousin, this happened. It ended up taking longer than we thought. By the time we were finished, it was super late. Like, things happen, but to make it a habit is where you want to correct the issue. So that's my course correction. That's my lesson of the week that I've been learning. And outside of that, everything else has been great. So with that being said, let's start the show, right? So we talked about how people don't know how to read a room, don't know what a room is, and don't even know how to read it. So for those people that are on the internet, those people are into music. There was this young guy named LaRussell, right? And granted, this started at the top of the week, so he missed it. But there was this young gentleman named LaRussell, and you know, how do you say this? So his engineer essentially told him not to put out a record, and he went online to basically double down and putting the record out after telling his engineer that he didn't need his advice. I'm here to tell you guys, as a former artist, when engineers are giving you their engineers are giving you their thoughts, they're giving you their advice, their input, you should take it. You know why? Because these engineers sit in these sessions and listen to so much music. They have such a very a wide variety of sounds, understanding of music theory, to know when something is garbage. Granted, not every engineer is good. Not every engineer understands music, but ones that have made it to the pinnacle, to the point where you've been working with them for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. You built up a rapport. They know when your best music is to come, and they know when you're putting out some bullshit. Maybe they don't tell you. In this case, the engineer told LaRussell, "Listen, dog, I don't think you should put this out." As a former artist, if an engineer told me that, I got that phone call, word, you don't think so? All right, let me sit on it. This nigga doubled down. And granted, my disdain for LaRussell is not personal. I just don't think he's a good artist, if you're asking me. I don't think he could rap well. I think he's praised more for his independence, which is finicky, if you ask me. That's a deeper dive for a different conversation. And I just don't think I think he's like one of those people that pretend to be smart because of the moves that they made, because of the connections that they've had, but don't actually know how to read a room. So this is knowing how to read a room, number one. I'm gonna play this clip for y'all because he deleted his social media. That's it too. So all the backlash that he's facing from not listening to his engineer, he is receiving backlash, and then he doubled down on it, calling people stupid for not knowing what he was talking about when he was wrong. All right, so we'll break that down after I play this shit. Look at this.
This record, and I sent it off to my engineer, and he calls me. He said, "Man, you probably shouldn't put this out." I said, "Why? What the hell happened?" He said, "You talking about Epstein, there's a lot of shit going on." And I said, "Thank you for calling me. I'm finna drop this."
Now, even the stupid ass laugh at the end, right, is like it's very cocky, very like, I know what I'm doing. And this is a moment where he has been humbled. LaRussell has been out for a very long time, and I think he was flying so much on his own accord that when he signed the deal with Rock Nation, he essentially got more spotlight than he wanted to, or knows how to handle it. And it's been case after case, but this one is just like it's egregious. So he took it down because he disappeared on the internet. But basically the lines were, even Martin was heaven sent, even Malcolm was heaven sent, Donald too, Epstein too, Adolf too. Like, no, listen, bro. Adolf Hitler, Donald Trump, and Epstein were not heaven sent. All right? Heaven sent means to be sent from heaven, a blessing. That is what heaven sent means. It does not mean that you weren't born from the same God that we all share. That's not what that means. Heaven sent doesn't mean that heaven sent doesn't mean that you weren't sent. I'm sorry. Heaven sent doesn't mean you were sent from the same God we all serve. We might all serve God, or some of us might not. And granted, everyone is not heaven sent. Heaven sent are people who are doing the Lord's work. Not Adolf Hitler, who was trying to exterminate the Jewish population. Not Epstein, that was doing whatever the hell he was doing, and not Trump, who's a clear racist and divisive person. Now, granted, you don't have to wish death on people. That's not what you have to do. But to say that people were heaven sent, right? So he goes on this song, and the song sucked, right? Like there was no drums, it wasn't over a beat. It was like meant to troll, basically. And he's just sitting there like, even Malcolm was heaven sent, even that was heaven sent, and it's like, all right, bro, you're playing that game, cool, but you gotta watch how that shit works, because when you play games like that, people play back. And now that you have more eyes than you've ever had, the internet is going to play back. The internet's going to analyze everything you're saying because they don't even believe you in the first place, right? It's very hard for you to preach independence to a population of people that might follow you and like your message, to then turn around and sign with the same monsters that you were so-called fighting. Doesn't really make sense to me. You can't call yourself an independent and a champion of independence when you go and do what you did. People who are truly independent didn't need certain things. They found a way to get it. And granted, he might own all his stuff and this, that, and the third, but you called Rock Nation predatory and then you signed with it. Doesn't really make sense. That's like having a girlfriend, calling her abusive and going back to her after you've spent some time away. You didn't like, it doesn't really make sense. Was it abusive, or you just didn't like how you were being treated? Was it a predatory deal, or was the deal just not significant to what you thought you could get? Because that's the difference. Predatory means we're trying to take advantage of you, and a deal that I didn't like, I just didn't like the deal that was on the table. Doesn't make it predatory. Right? But when you use that verbiage and then you go and sign with those people, it doesn't really make sense to your fans and your consumers. And honestly, if I was a fan, I would feel betrayed. Don't preach all this independent shit and then you go and granted, you're not even signing with a company that you spoke about how this company was predatory. No one else did. You did. And then you signed with them. Stuff like that just doesn't really make too much sense to me. But either here nor there, it is what it is, right? So we kind of get into the breaking down of LaRussell, and like I said, he doubles down. But here's the message. Here's the overall message, right? As quick as you rise is as quick as you could fall. Nobody is above the system. It doesn't matter who you are. It's been time after time after time in the music, in music. No one is bigger than the program. You will never be bigger than the program. Drake is not bigger than the program. And you are not as good as these people that I'm even describing. So to think that you can outplay the program is very arrogant. It's very it's just very arrogant. It's just very to the point where you're just like, okay, I don't really understand why you think you're going to make much of a difference than the people that have more impact could make a difference. Just doesn't really make sense. He didn't know how to read a room, and because he didn't know how to read a room, he ended up deactivating all his accounts. To me, that right there, you don't stand on what you believe in. The internet bullied you into shutting the fuck up, which you should have did after the first time you did it and after you made the mistake. You can't go online calling people stupid for giving you an educated reason why what you were saying doesn't make sense. Let me say that again. You can't get online for calling people stupid for giving you an educated response to what you said didn't make sense. You just can't do it. At some point, you got to have accountability. Dog, I messed up. That didn't make no sense. I meant to say this. I meant to say that. He's arrogant, and I don't really fuck with him, and I don't think he's good in the first place. So I wish the best for him because he's black. And I know he's out there making a change. But me personally, I never thought LaRussell was going to be the next anything. I just thought he was just a nigga that was just, he had certain connections and da-da-da-da-da. He's not even Chance the Rapper independent. So it's like the whole shit is very different. We're going to move along to our next person who fails to read the room. And there's plenty of instances for this guy where he doesn't give a fuck about the room, right? He don't care about the room. This person, as I'm sure you know who I'm about to bring up, this is number 2 on how to read a room, right? As humans, we want to do a better job with just providing context. We want to do a better job with just being better people, because essentially that would make this whole situation we're in, this war, this country, the state of people, just the mindset, the mentality, the morals, all that could be solved if we just understand how to read a room, right? So here we got here. It says Donald Trump just explained how he asked the White House doctors to intervene after Neil Dunn was given a terminal diagnosis because he needed his vote. This is quote, Mike called me and he said, "Sir, we're up by 3, but we're going to lose 1 by June." I said, "Who?" "Neil Dunn. He's a congressman, great congressman, incredible. He called to say that he was terminally really bad heart. There's nothing they can do," I said. "That's bad. Number 1, it was bad because I liked him, and number 2, it was bad because I needed his vote." Read a room. He don't care.
And he was very ill. It looked like he wasn't going to make it.
Look at this. And the the craziest part about this, right, is that no one else knows this information except for these 2 gentlemen or the people that were there. This is privy to information. But listen to him.
We had one man who was very ill. It looked like he wasn't going to make it. I don't know. I won't mention his name. Should I? Do other people know his name? Do you want to mention it? He'll be proud. Go ahead.
He will be proud to see his terminal diagnosis that he's been trying to keep under wraps being announced in a press conference by the president. Why would he be proud of that?
Tell him the story.
Okay.
Tell him the story. Look, and this dude got no fucking spine, yo.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Congressman Neil Dunn of Florida had some real health challenges, and it was very serious, and had a pretty grim diagnosis. And I mentioned it to the president, and I said, Congressman Dunn is a real champion and a patriot because he's still coming to work. And if others got this diagnosis, they would be apt to go home and retire. And
what was the diagnosis?
This is HIPAA violation, right? Like, this got to be something. There's got to be, you're breaking some type of HIPAA violation, bro. You're telling someone's diagnosis that was not private. And look at this dude. He still has no spine, but look at him.
It was, I think it was a terminal diagnosis.
He would be dead by June.
Bro.
Okay, that wasn't public, but yeah, okay. It was grim.
He will be dead by June. Okay. All right, yo. He'll be dead by June. Let's go to our next instance of knowing how to read the room, right?
That's how crazy it's gotten with a low IQ person, because Gavin Newsom has admitted that he has learning disabilities. Honestly, I'm all for people with learning disabilities, but not for my president. I don't want.
Did he say not for my president? Let's listen again. Oh, boy. When are we going to get grandpops out of here, bro? That's what I want to know.
That's how crazy it's gotten with a low IQ person, because Gavin Newsom has admitted that he has learning disabilities. Honestly, I'm all for.
This is every ist in the book. That's what this is. Every ist in the book. Whatever you could think of. That's what this is.
People with learning disabilities, but not for my
Look
president.
at the reporter. Look at the reporter on the ground. Look at this girl. I want to see where she starts. Let's see.
That's how crazy it's gotten with a low IQ person, because Gavin Newsom has admitted that he has learning disabilities.
Uh-oh. What is going on?
Honestly, I'm all for people with learning disabilities, but not for my president. I think a president.
Look at everybody's body. Yo, it's so crazy that I get to break this stuff down, because when I'm looking, I'm catching, for the people that are listening through audio, you're not going to see this, but as he's talking, it's like you watch the shift of people, yo. They go from intensive to listening to like, oh, shit, here you go again. Look at it. Intent.
That's how crazy it's gotten with a low IQ person, because Gavin Newsom has admitted that he has learning disabilities.
Look at that.
Honestly, I'm all for people with learning disabilities, but not for my president. I think a president should not have learning disabilities. Okay, and
excuse me. I didn't know Newsom. I don't even know I'm calling him Newsom. I didn't know Newsom was the president.
I know it's highly controversial to say such a horrible thing. The president of the United States, Gavin Newsom, admitted that he has learning disabilities, dyslexia.
They had to cut to Trump because the people in the crowd can't keep still.
Everything about him is dumb. But then he looked at the audience and said, "But I'm smarter than you."
I don't think he said that. But again, so I'm just giving you guys how to read the room, right? We went from younger to older. Neither of these people know how to read a room, okay? First gentleman, LaRussell, doubling down when you're wrong. Gotta learn better than that. He's older. He's old enough to know better. He ain't 20. He's 31. He's old enough to know I double down. I'm wrong. Older gentleman here has to know that he's the president of the United States, first of all. Second of all, he has to understand. I mean, I don't know. It's like I'm speaking to a wall, but he has to understand that, dog, first of all, we're at war. This isn't that old. We're still at war, my dog. And you're talking about someone having mental disabilities, but you have them as well. Let's keep it going. I have plenty of these, and I'm not gonna play all of them because that would just be overkill. This would be overkill. But this right here was the one where I said, okay, we officially don't know how to read the room. We officially don't know how to read the room. As the president of the United States, we don't know how to read the room. Nor do we give a fuck about the room, right? So in the beginning, I said some people don't know how to read, right? And some people don't give a fuck about the room. Some people don't know how to read, and some people don't give a fuck about the room. Trump don't give a fuck about the room. LaRussell don't know how to read. So we got two people who don't know how to read a room because neither can read, right? So listen to this. I had to explain this to Ash. I had to say, Ash. So before I even go into the video, I'll preface it with this. This is a press conference where Donald Trump is meeting with the Prime Minister of Japan, and he's making Pearl Harbor jokes, which I had to explain to Ash. I said, Ash, I hope you understand how fucking crazy this is, because we dropped a nuclear bomb on Japan, and somehow we're aligned. If you dropped a nuclear bomb on my country and set us back for millions and millions of years, you set us back and you put us in predicaments where people are deformed and you have to deal with the grandparents and ancestors and the scar tissue that comes from dropping a nuclear bomb. We're not talking about like, you know what I'm saying? We're not talking about a bomb or a missile or a drone. We're talking about a nuclear bomb that wiped the fuck out of Japan and they had to restart. But making Pearl Harbor jokes. Again, don't give a fuck about the room, but if you like to hear it, here's how it goes.
One question, why didn't you tell US allies in Europe and Asia, like Japan, about the war before attacking Iran?
So his question, if you can't hear, he sounds a little muffled, but he's saying, why didn't you tell your allies about the war before you decided to go to war? Why would you just go to war without letting your allies know?
We are very confused about it.
Everybody's confused because we want to know why you wouldn't let us know as your allies that you're deciding to go to war, which is a valid question, because if you're an ally, right? Allies are like friends, right? They don't always have to be in the best of terms. You don't always have to be in the greatest of terms, greatest of spaces, but we're here to help you. And we're also here to tell you that I think this will be a very, very, very bad, this would be a bad choice. This would be a bad choice. As your ally, you're going to set everybody back from this stupid ass choice. But you know what he was doing? He was only listening to one person, which was Benjamin Netanyahu, who has him in his pocket. And listen to his answer to that wonderful question. And I'm tight, we're both wearing yellow. That's disgusting. But listen to this.
We Japanese citizens.
Well, one thing you don't want to signal too much. You know, when we go in, we went in very hard, and we didn't tell anybody about it because
that's a lie. You told Israel about it because it was only you two that planned it.
Tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan?
Bro, He's about to get into it. In his head, it's like, make the connection. Like, yo,
Tell anybody about it
this is sick.
because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay, why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay, right? You know, he's asking me. Now you believe in surprise, I think much more so than us.
Excuse me? That, I mean, okay. What was Pearl Harbor, 1945? You're talking about almost 80 years ago? Jesus, bro. I know for him that was like, you know, yesterday, but come on, bro. You know, I think the main point here is as people, as a people, we have to do better with how we stand, who we are, and when things are not going how they're supposed to be going, we have to do a better job with just saying, "Hey, listen, let's pull out because what's going on right now doesn't make sense." I've been watching more news in the last 2-3 months than I've been, or actually no, since this dude got reelected, I've been watching the news and being very informed with news that is independent, news that is paid for and, you know, sponsored by, and I just been trying to weed out, you know, be very objective, right? Like, no one's all bad, no one's all good. So you can't have, it's not, for me, it's not like this dude is all bad, right? Even though he makes, like, if we're talking bad, he's like 90%, right? There's a couple things couple things that he signed and laws and stuff that he wanted to do, which was decent. But now it just seems like this whole term is about like kingship and like just doing whatever the hell I want. So this right here, what I have on the screen, was very interesting, and it was very sad, right? So apparently this gentleman here, I don't have his name. Let me see if I can get his name. I don't have his name. I don't have the gentleman's name, but he was a journalist and he was in Iran, I believe. And he was saying that basically if you are press, you're there to do coverage on the war and everything that's going on. And you have there's a certain type of color or something like that is on your vehicle. You wear press passes so people know you're there as a journalist. You're not there for war. And you're there pretty much to just cover the war objectively or non-objectively, depending on what you know, press you work for. But look at this shit, bro. Look at this war that was supposed to take 2 weeks is fucking insane. Look at this.
Along the border, including
I thought this is so real. I thought this was fake.
the Al-Marj outpost opposite Merkaba and carried out drone strikes on the Al-Raheb site near Aitar al-Shab. Further rocket attacks were reported against Nahariya and admitted.
Bro, he was reporting in the space, and an Israel bomb
To the country.
Attempted to strike him. So here was his response. He survived. His crew survived. But here was his response. I wish I knew the gentleman's name. Excuse me. But for those that are listening, a fucking drone almost took this reporter out. But here's his
I guess so. Yeah, well, you've probably all seen the footage of the airstrike that took place in Sur district as we were reporting on the destruction of a bridge. We've been treated in hospital for our injuries. I had a shrapnel wound in my arm, deeply embedded in the muscle here. That's been taken out. And here it is in this pot here. But what I do want to say is that this was a deliberate, targeted attack on journalists. There's no mistake about it. This was an Israeli precision strike from a fighter jet. What we were doing was we were reporting on the attacks on bridges, which is effectively severing.
And I forgot. I think Ash asked me why is he on the road and the bridge, and now I understand it. He's on the road and on the bridge so he doesn't get struck again. Because what they're not gonna do is just randomly strike the highway where people are driving. So, you know, I'm glad the gentleman survived. This is crazy though. Imagine you're doing your job and just all the reports came back that because the system that the FBI uses or the CIA, I'm not sure which one, don't quote me on that, but the school that they blew up in Nab, was it Manab? 175 girls that were killed was confirmed that the US was at fault for that. This is a little sidetrack, but here it goes. U.S. at fault for strike on school in Iran. Outdated targeting system. That's what it was. The outdated targeting data may have resulted in a mistaken missile strike, according to the ongoing military, which would undercut Trump's assertion that Iran could be to blame. Outdated data may led to the misstrucking of a tomahawk. At least 175 people died. Mostly were children. Iranian officials. That is so sad, man. And Israel didn't claim this. So, my brain gets to spinning. I'm gonna go back here and let me get out of this really quickly. But my brain gets to spinning, right? So, what we're starting to see now. Again, I'm no expert. I'm just using my two eyes. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. The U.S. is trying to find ways to get out of this war now. It's gotten out of hand. Can't get the Strait of Hormuz open. Oil is going up. It's like $115 a barrel or something like that. Highest has been in a very long time, right? Now you're starting to see Trump is going back and forth with his stances. One moment is like, we're almost finished with the war. We've done everything we did. I didn't know about those strikes that Israel did. And then it's like, if you don't open up the strait in the next 40 hours, we're going to send ground troops. Originally, he ran on not sending troops. Now we already have troops out there, which they're not telling us. But we have troops that are out there that have been sent out there, and they're eventually going to hit the ground. And then it's eventually going to become news, and it's eventually going to become a bigger issue, right? So you have that on one hand. On the other hand, you have Benjamin Netanyahu saying, listen, we didn't strike those kids, da-da-da. So right now we're seeing the two at odds because what they had planned is going horribly wrong. They thought they were just going to wipe Iran off the side of the map and do whatever the fuck they wanted, and they miscalculated and they misunderstood how much these people, the Iranian people, how strong they are and how prepared they've been since the taking over Iraq. Their new Ayatollah was saying that. But they prepared. And they see us as enemies now, whereas before they had a deal on the table with the U.S. where they were willing to give up all their nuclear, equipment and da-da-da-da, and Trump turned it down. Struck in the middle of the day on a holy month, struck on the 9th day of the period that they gave him to make an agreement, didn't even give him 10 days. All this shit is just devil work. And it's really starting to fall back on him. So sorry for that little tangent, but let's finish what this gentleman was saying.
South Lebanon from the rest of the country. 1 million people now internally displaced. This is the real story. It's not about us coming under attack as journalists. What we're seeing now and what we were reporting on is this plan for Israel to ethnically cleanse the south of Lebanon. This is without doubt an attack. This is on the scale or bigger than the scale of the Nakba. This is the forced displacement of.
He said over 1 million people being displaced. Very, very sad. That's sad. That's sad. That's very sad, right? Over 1 million people misplaced. Don't have homes, don't have places to go to. Plenty of footage of people in their houses when these drones are attacking. It's just sad all across the board. People losing their lives over senseless violence. I'm never for that. But yeah. Thoughts and prayers to everybody else who's going through it. And we're gonna switch to something a little bit more lighthearted. This is a clip of J. Cole giving a breakdown of his quote unquote apology that he got on stage. So for the people that are music nerds, this is a lot more music out today than most times. But for the people that are music nerds, people that love this shit, J. Cole was essentially going to be a part of the beef that Kendrick Lamar and Drake had, to the point where he got on a record and he was shooting at Kendrick Lamar, which then he took off the internet, which then he got on his Dreamville platform and said, I apologize, because he didn't feel right about it. And for a very long time, people were calling him this, that, and the third, and no one really knew what to think of it. But then he sat down with Apple Music and Nadeska based off his most recent album, and he's kind of given a more genuine approach and a genuine, he's giving his genuine thoughts about how he felt the battle was, and things of that nature. And I thought some of it was very interesting. Some of it I was like, I get it. But he's on like his remorseful shit. So let's play this.
5 minutes to 5 hours before? Was it something that you had really thought of and planned? Or did you get on the stage and felt like, I need to do this?
No, it hit me an hour before.
Okay.
But before that, I was stressing the fuck out but in the moment that the idea came to me, like via God, it's like, oh man, I lifted and I got light and I got excited. I got so excited because, to tell you the 2 or 3 days before that, it was like, oh my, nah, this is terrible, because I felt like I misrepresented myself. You know what I mean? It's like all of a sudden I'm giving life to division and to negative storylines or negative perceptions on somebody that I fuck with and got love for. You know what I mean? Somebody that I like care about. And it's like, oh shit. In my mind, of course, I mean, I could take you back to, we know why that happened in the first place,
Right.
But just to answer your question, that shit had me feeling terrible, because I'm like, oh my God, like this shit is nasty. This shit don't feel right. And of course, leading up to it, when I was doing it, it made sense. Actually, I can't really say it made sense, but in a moment where I wasn't clear, like we were just talking about, I chose to do something that didn't align. It's like putting on the.
So this has me thinking that J. Cole and Drake had a really major fallout after that whole beef shit. And I think he had clarity about he probably shouldn't have done that shit. And he was maybe feeding into a little bit of the wrong side of things, right? Because if you remember, like, saying you the greatest rapper is not a diss. It's just, people do that shit. I'm the greatest since blah, 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 blah. That happens. That is what it is. But I think J. Cole saw some shit. He heard some shit. And he just was like, oh, this is deeper than rap. And he's not a part of it. And I also think Drake is going to start sending shots at this nigga. Now, granted, this isn't going to happen, but this is what I want to put on record. Drake already got beat the fuck down with Kendrick. I think, I'm like 70% sure, if Drake's album comes out with shots to J. Cole, I think J. Cole is going to respond. And I think it's going to get ugly again for Drake. We will see if that happens. That's a bold prediction, but I'm not sure.
Fucking outfit, the Versace sweater or whatever. In a moment where I wasn't clear, I chose to go this way for reasons that I could tell you about. But all you need to know right now is like, yo, I felt miserable about it. Like literally, like my whole demeanor, my whole shit, my wife could tell. And so I'm like, oh my God, I gotta go on this stage and like come out here and pretend. Almost like people think that I'm representing. Mike Delete Later had just dropped. It's the biggest news. Not saying Mike Delete Later is, but just the drama of all of this is the biggest news happening. And I'm coming out as a representative of what the fuck they just heard. It's like, nah. So an hour before, it was like, aha. Like, yo, in a very loud manner, in a very public forum on your album, you said some shit you didn't believe in. Now you got the opportunity to go on the bigger form, you know what I mean, a bigger stage is being live streamed and say
So an hour before he did the Dreamville show where he apologizes when he realized he wanted to say something.
something that you believe in.
Commendable.
And in that moment, I'm like, oh, thank you, God. Like, I told my wife, she's the only one I told. I ain't telling nobody else. I was like, yo, this one I'm about to go do. She start crying because she know how I feel about.
She started crying, nigga, because you was about to get put through that ringer, nigga. She started crying because she knew. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. But I do think, you know, here's the takeaway of this. We're not gonna finish it because he's kind of just talking in loops a little bit. But here's the takeaway. His wife and him, they've known Kendrick Lamar for a very long time. And for them to go through whatever they were going through, I'm sure it hurt because it's like at one point, you know the depths of friendship these people have to see it fall out and turn into something else. It doesn't just affect the people that are beefing. It affects the people that are closest to him because then you have to pick and choose. Well, I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't do this. So I think that aha moment reset the table for him, and then he goes on to talk about how it just made him, after he made that choice, it made him fall in love with hip hop again and just making music again. Shout out to him. Because he's a full circle moment, right? We talked about how we started with LaRussell, who can't read, and we went to Trump, that don't give a fuck about the room. And sometimes when you're in between that, which J. Cole was during the whole beef and when he was, shooting at Kendrick, you're stuck there. And you double down there. But the honorable thing to do is, if you don't believe in that shit, apologize. That's honorable. Yo, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that at all. I'm sorry. It clears everything because you no longer have to hold on to pain and shit like that you don't believe in. You don't have to hold on to it. You let it go. And however people interpret it from there, that's on them. But you don't have to be in that purgatory where you don't know how to read and you don't give a fuck about the room. If that's not who you are, right? The person that don't give a fuck about the room, that's who they are. The person who can't read is really ignorant and is choosing not to read. But if they chose to read, they would see that they were wrong. And that's why they choose not to read and act like they don't know how to read. This was very commendable from J. Cole. It kind of wraps up the whole how to read a room thing. And I was just very happy about it. I got to see and kind of fully understand why. Like, okay, that makes 100% sense now. Why he didn't do, you know what I'm saying? Whatever the case was. So shout out to J. Cole. Shout out to that. Again, I thought we're going to move to this. I thought this was pretty interesting. And I have thoughts on this. This was 7 minutes. Kenyon Martin, right? Who is a part of Gil's Arena, the sports podcast. And he brought this producer or this production member that was on the team. I mean, on the Gil's Arena team. He brought him out basically, and he was confronting him because I don't want to do the it's 7 minutes. I'm not gonna play the whole 7 minutes. I'm just giving you a quick scope. But he brought him out and he was like, "Hey, you were talking about me. You were talking about my stuttering issue. Blase, blase, blah. And I don't fuck with this. I don't fuck with you." Like, he did this live on the show and they kept it there, which is great for production and content. And I'm sure they signed a contract to Gil saying, whatever happens on the show, I have the right to keep it if I want to. And Gil is a trolling ass nigga, so he just kept it. But this was about 7 minutes, and that's pretty much what he was, because the production member was mocking him for a speech impediment. And then Gil did like an actual, because Kenyon Martin, here was the issue. Kenyon Martin thought that it happened recently. This was old and it resurfaced. But look at let's listen to Gil's response, because this is quicker.
I didn't know what to say. You can't tell a man how to respond Right.
So things got tense on the Gilbert Arenas show when Kenyon Martin halted the broadcast, confronting an employee from the show live on air and called him out for making a video mocking his speech impediment when he's been into his home, met his wife, met his kids. All out of context.
That's one thing you can't do, when they feel a certain way, right? Whatever actions you put, if that person wants to respond, that person wants to respond. So, there's just details in it where, the video itself, where the guy was saying it, he wasn't actually working with us yet with Gil's Arena. He was reading comments. And so this was a few years ago. So he was reading.
Oh, this is a recent.
Yeah.
This is recent.
It wasn't recent. It was pushed to Kenyon like it actually was recent, but it wasn't a recent thing. He wasn't on the staff. And I guess he was like defending me in a sense. And he was reading comments and going off the comments. And then he said that about Kenyon.
Okay.
And then after the fact, he met Kenyon when he came and started working for the company and stuff like that. And him and Kenyon became good. So, the people who held on to it, been, oh, we're going to do this. We're going to get it to Kenyon. And then, I guess since it came, to light, like, oh, we have the video. And then that's when he tried to apologize to Kenyon. So but since Kenyon never seen it, he just thought, oh yeah, well, don't worry about it. Now, he's seeing it, and so now he thinks, oh yeah, I had you in my house, had you in my family, my kids, so it's one of those things where it's like, well, no, and it was before, and I had to check, because my dad, watches all that down below level content where they down there beefing. Doxing each other, recording, they, edit, make it look certain ways. So my dad was like, no. I watched that episode because I was like, ooh, wait, whoa.
So how do y'all feel about that? I know that was long-winded, but how do y'all feel about that? Because I watched the full video, like I said, and then I listened to Gil's part, and I said, you know what? I mean, I as Kenyon, you could feel a type of way, but in your argument, you can't really say I brought you into my home, da-da-da-da. You did, but this happened prior to me knowing you in the capacity that I know you. I'm sure they spoke after this, and I hope everything's good, but let me know what you think about that. Me personally, if I was in Kenyon's position, I would still feel a type of way, and we would have to have that conversation, but we wouldn't have it over air. And I would have to make sure, like, dog, like, if you feel this way, let's just keep it professional. But he essentially was saying, like, how he put money in his pocket, and he did that. So I get that from that standpoint. To hear some shit about you on the internet or whatever from other people when you've done things for people, it hurts. Regardless if the time period is slightly off, it hurts. It's like, yo, dog, I did this for you, I done that, I did this, and this is how you treat me. Like, I respect him for confronting him, but when I first watched this shit, I was like, oh my God, this shit is crazy. That shit was wild. Let's get into some entertainment outside of music and sports, because I feel like that's what I've been on, a little bit of politics, but Spider-Man, Spider mother freaking man is here. So Marvel released its newest trailer for, what is it called? Brand New Day, which I believe is the last Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland. I believe it is. And this looks like it takes place after the glitch. The glitch. Let's see. Can't wait to see Spider versus the Hand. This is gonna be good. Oh yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, that's dope. That's dope. All right, so look, we're going to watch the trailer real quick. Brand New Day, July 31st. I'm excited for this. In premium formats exclusively in movie theaters, July 31st. This is going to be good. This is going to be good. I think the next version of like the Avengers phase, whatever the fuck it is, I'm excited, man. I'm just a fan. I'm a fan of Marvel movies being good again. I think there was a little patch of the movies where it was just like, we'll do some other shit. Like, I'll watch some other shit. But I like the most recent tier they've been on with the movies they've been creating, and I'm gonna watch this. So I'm gonna watch it as a fan. Spider-Man is one of my favorite superheroes outside of Batman, and this is kind of, yeah, this seems about the same. 3 life cycles: shooting webs from the body without gadgets, some weird power, having red eyes, suspense. Pretty cool cover recreation. So they did a lot of cover recreations and a lot of shots with Spider-Man. This looks pretty good. I can't wait to see that, and I can't wait to see Multiverse too. I want to see them, or not multi. Was it Multiverse? The joint with Miles Morales. I can't wait to see part 2 of that. I was waiting on that, and it's been over 2-3 years, I want to say. So let's see. Is there anything else to cover? Is there anything else to cover? Anything else to cover? Yeah, there is more to cover. All right. Speaking of covers, speaking of covers, Nicki Minaj apparently changed all of her covers to be Israel Nicki, and here it goes. I'm actually gonna look on Spotify, right, or not Spotify. I'm gonna look on Apple Music right now to just make sure this is true and not AI, and I'm not reporting on AI because I didn't do my due diligence. No, this is true. Okay, so, or maybe no, it's not. I think this is all AI. I don't know. I can't even tell now. No, that's not it. Apparently, Nicki has been going too far, and this may be fake news. This. I thought it was fake news, but either way, I'm still gonna report on like it's real. What's this playing? Okay, this is Apple Music in the video. Uses clever editing. Yeah, she didn't change it. Sorry, guys. Bad reporting on my behalf, but it was kind of funny. They had Tel Aviv Part 2. They just changed their shit to some Israel shit because Nicki's on some bullshit. But that is fake news. So let's go to actual real news that I did actually research. That's a mishap, but I don't give a goddamn. So the Florida bill, to ban marrying a first cousin failed to pass in the Florida Senate. So, we're going to end on this, ladies and gents. In Florida, apparently, they're still fucking cousins. And they're marrying them. Now, I had some drinks over the weekend or past weekend, and I was chilling with some friends, and we talked about cousins. I also talked about I think this has just started popping up on my feed ever since I watched Godfather Part 3. I had to ask an Italian, do y'all really, sleep with y'all cousins? I had to ask people, is it common for people to really sleep with their cousins and marry their first cousins and have kids with their first cousins or just cousins in general? And I guess it happens. I don't fucking know, what type of crazy shit is going on, but we don't live in the times we used to live in. So, like, there's so many other options you could find. Like, if you're asking me, if you're Italian and you're trying to reproduce and recreate your bloodline to being powerful and strong, dog, there are a billion Italians out there that aren't your cousins. First cousins, second cousins, or third cousins, or fourth cousins. Maybe y'all are distant cousins. But there are so many people in this world to the point where you should not be subjugated to marry your first cousins. I just don't understand it. I'm trying to figure out why, with all the men, with all the women in the world, you want to marry your cousin. That's why I didn't get Godfather Part 3 and the plot line and all that shit. I didn't understand it. Women, there's so many men in this world at a premium. Cousins, I just don't understand it, man. It's like I don't get it. Like humans are we're weird, bro. We're weird, and I'm gonna actually switch it to this too because we're just weird, bro. Like we get and do some weird shit. We lie about shit. This is Kevin Gates. This is my hot clip segment of the day, and then we're out of here after this one because I had a 81. There was a video online of an 81-year-old lesbian. I'm gonna play that too. In a pie eating contest. They had an 81-year-old lesbian in a pie eating contest, and she was doing some wild shit. I'm gonna play that before I get out of here. But listen to Kevin Gates.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
What happened?
Wrong with the white. I was
Yeah.
downstairs. And next thing I know, I don't remember doing none of this. Next thing I know, I was on Instagram Live with my boxer briefs on.
Oh my God.
Really?
That was the only time you've
I
ever
was
been
so
drunk?
embarrassed.
Why did you?
Oh my God.
Why that night did you choose to get drunk?
I was depressed
Oh.
Why?
because I had my heart broke.
What happened?
She left. Fuck.
Do you get sad?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he got his heart
This has to
broken.
be.
That was the best thing that ever happened
This has to be just for content purposes. It has to be.
to me, but at the time, I ain't understand it.
Yeah.
How did you get through it?
Why did she leave?
Yeah.
Or that?
They never really have an answer for why they leave. And they never really have an answer for why they come back.
Did she come back?
I knew you would be back.
How long?
I knew you would be back again.
Exactly.
This is such an awkward fucking. This is such like an awkward. This shit is just awkward, bro. But
What
I
were
want
you
to get to
gonna
the
say?
part where I'm like,
How
all right,
long
bro.
did it take you to like get over the heartbreak?
I didn't eat for 27 days.
All right, bro. He knows. Look at him. He knows.
What?
How could that? Why?
Because you were like
What?
How could that?
He knows
why-
he's bullshit.
What were you gonna say?
How long did it take you to like get over the heartbreak?
I didn't eat for 27 days.
We just get on the internet and just say some bullshit. Look at him. He dead serious, too. All right, man. Last one. 81-year-old lesbian wins the pie eating contest. And this was on Pie Day, which was 3/14. I stumbled across this whenever I stumbled across this. But in honor of Pie Day, let me read the caption. In honor of Pie Day, here's a reminder that an 81-year-old lesbian went viral after she won the Best Technique Award at a lesbian pie eating contest in San Francisco. Babs Dutch wowed an enthusiastic crowd with her impressive pie eating skills. Let's watch the 81-year-old freak. Jesus Christ, this is disgusting. Yo, this is disgusting. Yo, I was watching this and I said, I gotta add this, but I never watched the full video. This is fucking disgusting, bro. I'm gonna try to do the 22 seconds without stopping. This is like a nightmare. Ugh. This feels like a fucking like a satanic commercial. Dog. Hey, granted, I'm not saying it feels satanic because she's a lesbian. Let's clear the air. I'm with the LGBTQ plus community, but she looked fucking crazy. No one wants to see an 81-year-old eating pie and ugh. Yep. Well, that's it. That wraps up the show. We ended. We're gonna end our show with an 81-year-old who is eating pie, an 81-year-old lesbian who's eating pie and doing the licky lick 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 facial expressions. So with that being said, shout out to everyone that listened. Thank you for the Werk Show. Please follow the Werk Show. Actually, I believe I changed it to the Werk Network. So follow the Werk Network. I got this show, the Werk Show, which is on YouTube, and it's on audio. And then we're also coming up with our sports show. So I'm gonna start speaking less on sports here, more sports on our hate watchers. That's what it's called. That's what we're calling it. And I'm going to talk more politics, entertainment, music over here, tech, all those things, hot topics, interesting topics, and things of that nature. But I'm going to keep the sports over there. So I'll mildly touch the sports, but just so you know, I'm going to start making a swing into keeping this light sports, heavy sports over there, entertainment, tech, politics, news, hot topics. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for tuning in. This has been a great show. Peace and love to everyone. Peace out.